I'm Ethan Liu with 10 minutes of news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwan's economy grew at its slowest rate in 14 years in 2023. The government estimates GDP grew around 1.4% last year, down from nearly 2.6% in 2022. Officials say the drop was caused by weak investment on the part of government and private companies and fewer exports. Taiwan is an export-oriented economy. Authorities expect the economy will improve in 2024 and are forecasting 3.35% growth this year. Taiwan's Labor Fund has reported record-breaking returns for 2023, outperforming a similar scheme in South Korea. Returns on investments in the country's two labor funds totaled over $22 billion, with an average return rate of almost 13%. As of December, the funds grew to just over $200 billion, marking a new annual record. The world's second-largest pension scheme in South Korea saw 9% growth in 2023, while Norway's Wealth Fund, the world's largest, saw returns of just over 16%. Over 1 million people are expected to pass through Taiwan's largest airport over the Lunar New Year holiday. Taoyuan Airport is expecting long queues and is urging travelers to plan ahead and arrive early for their flights. The peak travel period starts on February 7th and runs through the 15th. An indigenous Rukai couple from Taiwan South is fighting to save their village one tree at a time. John Ventrias reports.
It's another back-breaking day on the mountainside. Once outside of the village, there's no running water. The only way to get water uphill is by carrying it in heavy buckets. But for Sula Sukimadrimi, this is important work. His life's work, in fact. This is the land of Taiwan's indigenous Rukai people, where the forest once helped provide life's necessities.
In the
1960s and 70s, though, loggers came in and began cutting down the trees. There was pushback from the locals, but it faded as some people compromised with the loggers to get money to live on. Sula Sukinadrimi watched it happen. Around 30 years ago, he'd had enough and started planting new trees on his own. It was slow going, but it was at that time that local people started appreciating just how serious the deforestation had become. A series of intense and sometimes deadly typhoons tore through the mountains. With no trees to hold the soil back, mountainsides crumbled. In 2009, Morakot, the fiercest storm of all, proved too much. 5 local villages all picked up and left the mountains and their ancestral lands for good. But Sula Sukimadrimi and his wife were determined to stay. They borrowed money to buy the land with the only roads into the region and block loggers from entering the mountains. Reforesting their mountains has been slow and arduous. But the hard work has started to pay off. The couple has planted over 10,000 trees, reforesting 100 hectares. It's far from their goal of a restored 600 hectares, but they've begun bringing children with them to pass on their mission, ensuring their home will see flourishing forests again. Lofi Li and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
A school in the eastern county of Yilan is building new ways of preserving local indigenous culture. Rick Lauer reports.
There's a new lesson to be learned at this school in eastern Taiwan's Yilan County. The playground now includes a traditional dwelling built by the local indigenous Taoyuan group.
看到很多现在没看到的东西。
学习那个以前人他做家务有用到什么智慧。
It's part of efforts to preserve the building techniques of the Taiwan people. Taiwan is home to some 600,000 indigenous people, 3% of the country's population. Languages and traditional ways of life are at risk of disappearing, making it important to educate the next generation.
有一个家屋在这边，当做我们一个泰雅文化学习的一个很重要的一个教学场域。
Elders also hope to impart practical, sustainable knowledge that can help residents here as Taiwan's weather becomes more extreme.
它优势是，你冬天的话是比较不会怕冷的，不会说很冷。夏天的话就比较也不会热。
Passing on traditional skills and knowledge for the next generation is important for the Taiwan people, something they know must be built on a strong foundation. Patrick Chen and Rick Lowett for TaiwanPlus.
One international level Jiu Jitsu athlete in Taiwan stands head and shoulders above the rest. Our reporter Bryn Thomas hit the mat with black belt David Wei to find out what it takes to be the national team.
If you're part of Asia's Brazilian Jiu Jitsu community, you've probably seen this guy. You might have even had the pleasure of fighting him. At 32, David is one of the best Taiwanese players in this sport. He represents Taiwan as part of a national team and is sometimes the only athlete from the country competing in jiu-jitsu events. That was the case at this year's Asian Games in Hangzhou, China, and it won't be the last time. For David, who has a family, a small business, and a job, flying the flag is both a privilege and a huge responsibility.
在赛前，我的心理是非常脆弱，而且我有很大的压力，因为这次中华队就只有我代表柔术这个项目去比赛，所以大家对我的期待非常深，希望我有好的表现。所以说，其实我都不是睡得太好，然后有时候也会影响到训练品质。
David failed to win a medal at the Asian Games, but he's still training hard for several upcoming matches. He's working with another Taiwanese black belt and former national team member, Justin Lin, to sharpen his skills. He trains 6 days a week, often twice a day, doing a mix of sparring, drilling, stretching, and weightlifting. It's a no-quit attitude he's carried with him since the start of his career.
当我白带的时候，我没有在 tap 。我白带的时候，因为我就是很笨的那样，别人 choke 我就OK 就睡觉这样。我在比赛的时候人家安霸，我就觉得应该没事，我手就真的断掉了，你知道吗？我手就真的被折，啪，哇就受伤了，真的很痛，非常痛。我到那个时候我就开始真的想是说，哇，我真的要很注意我的身体，你知道吗？身体要跟我一辈子。
12 years later, and after a bit of physical therapy and over 100 competitions, David's now a black belt. He's married, owns a gym, and teaches classes in Taipei. Several afternoons a week, he hosts grapplers and coaches from other gyms for no-nonsense sparring here at iFighting.
David's intensity and David's effort and David's mind and David's soul elevate everybody here, and that's why I train here at iFighting with David, because he elevate all of us.
It's a common sentiment amongst jiu-jitsu athletes in Taiwan. David's ability to juggle his family and financial responsibilities while training to compete at the highest levels stems from his role as a leader in Taipei's martial arts community. By competing with the national team, teaching, and sharing his experience, he hopes to blaze a trail for the country's youth.
让人家抽到中华队，觉得哇，我们都要中华队，这是一场不容易的比赛。有这种想法，然后我们可以有好的选手站上颁奖台。我要就是真的竞争非常激烈，然后台湾人站上1、2、3名，我觉得这是我想看到的。
David will insist that his successes in this sport were only possible because of the support he receives from his family, his coaches, and his teammates. He pays special attention to his youngest students while eyeing other opportunities to represent Taiwan.
我很努力在教我的后辈，一些白带、一些蓝带，甚至小朋友，我非常努力在教他们，因为我都可以预见他们现在这么努力，他们13岁，当他们18岁的时候，他们只要中间没有放弃的话，他们会变得非常厉害。那有一天，就是我们台湾选手就可以在世界舞台上被大家看到，这是我的想法，这是我现在想要做的事情。
If David's passion for the sport rubs off on even a few of Taiwan's younger athletes, the future of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the country is sure to be bright. Andy Xue and Bryn Thomas for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.